This is a Sunbelt Communications editorial with editorial board member Christopher Handy.
Last Tuesday morning, as I waited for Senator Barack Obama to deliver his Jeremiah Wright response speech, billed in advance by some media outlets as race in politics, billed by others as race in America, and billed by one particular media pundit as, quote, perhaps the biggest speech given by any candidate in any presidential campaign ever, unquote, I became consumed with several thoughts. The first was simply, wow. What was it like to live when race, between black and white, didn't matter? Race as a characteristic has no intrinsic value, brings with it by nature no inferior or superior quality. The Greeks, to whom much intellectual credit is given for our understanding of math, art, and sciences, readily marveled and adopted their disciplines from darker-skinned Africans. And in the 1600s, when William Shakespeare penned Othello, an interracial love story with a black male lead, it was adopted as an almost instant literary classic, without controversy over the skin color of its protagonist. The illusion of substantive racial difference was crafted and then widely adopted during the Atlantic slave trade, simply to make people feel better about dehumanizing those who could provide the physical labor for their economic gain. And race has been an issue ever since. Then I wondered why the media sensationalizes race, as in its hyper-coverage of comments by Bill Clinton and Geraldine Ferraro, and the irrelevant comments of Reverend Jeremiah Wright. Yes, for the purposes of the presidential campaign, the comments of Reverend Wright are irrelevant. I can no more attribute Jeremiah Wright's views of America's foreign policy to Barack Obama than I can attribute support for homosexuality or pedophilia to the Catholic parishioners who remain in the churches where their priests committed such acts. Or any more than I can attribute the political views of Reverends John Hagee or Rod Parsley to John McCain, or Reverend Jesse Jackson's political views to the Clintons, simply because they sought his counsel during the Lewinsky crisis. Based on the media's coverage of those other examples, it seems that the media is too often using race to make a story, instead of reporting the stories that are real. And I wondered if again race was being used for economic gain, only this time the media's. Why does any of this matter? It matters because this box you are watching does not replace your brain. Your vote in the upcoming election should be based on the candidate who best addresses what matters to you. If your main concern is religious belief, then absolutely evaluate McCain, Obama, and Clinton based on their spiritual relationships with their spiritual advisors. If your concerns are economy, war, or education, seek out the candidate's views and vote on those. But decide what matters to you, and don't just accept what the media portrays as important. Have you noticed that regardless of which network you watch, you see the same 8 news stories? Ask yourself, how can everything that happened in the world today be reduced to the same 8 stories? Who wants me to know what and why? Let what you see here and read in the paper be your starting points of information, not your total education.
This has been a Sunbelt Communications editorial. We invite your comments to editorial@sunbeltcom.com.